Hi, everybody. Hello. Thank you. That was robust. So my name's Corey Fry. If you don't know me, my name's Corey Fry, even if you do know me. But I'm the exhibitions manager here at the Del Plain. Thanks for coming out on a Thursday night. And you're here instead of listening to music along the creek. I'm sure you can catch some of the last songs, though. If you're interested, you might even be able to hear some of them. So we'll see. Ed Ramsburg, Calvin Edward Ramsburg, is an abstract artist whose work has been seen in solo and group exhibitions in America, Europe, and Mexico. Ramsburg's paintings combine drawing, gestural brushwork, and spontaneity. A career artist, educator, and arts advocate, Ramsburg teaches here at the Del Plain and lives in Frederick. Johan Lowie is a Belgian-born visual artist based in Frederick County. He holds a Master's of Fine Arts from the Royal Academy of Arts in Ghent. Ghent, Belgium, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And a BFA from, I'm not going to say this right, the Kortrijk Institute.
Means short. Now I forget.
As good as you do. That's great. Okay. Institute of Technology. He works primarily in painting and drawing. His work explores themes of memory, identity, mental health through both figurative and abstract approaches. Lowie has exhibited extensively in the U.S. and Belgium with the support from the Frederick Arts Council and the National Endowment of the Arts. Give it up for Ed and Johan.
Thank you everybody for coming tonight. It's always nice to see so many people here. So this talk of Ed and I came about because a couple of years ago we were talking about sketchbooks and how we use them. And Ed said, for me, my sketchbooks are sacred. I keep them. I never, once they're finished, I keep them, and I put them in my, with the books. And I said, whoa, for me it's just the opposite. For me, I tear them apart, I painted them, So I said it would be interesting of having a talk on the different ideas of how people, use sketchbooks. So mostly for me, my sketchbooks are my workhorse. Yeah, I use them for everything. I use them for figure drawing, I use them for ideas. It's actually my hands, the ideas I work with my hands. So I use them for almost everything. So mine are a mix, and probably Ed's too.
It's definitely a mix, because I have some I just use, like a new one I just started just for watercolor. But for me, it is keeping the hand practiced and the mind by doing sketches every day. So I draw every day. So it's like practicing the serve of tennis. Once you get into like the big painting, you're ready. So it's always keeping myself sharp. And I just love to draw. So, and I'm a bibliophile, so I can't destroy them.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Johan cannibalizes them, and it's like always been very strange to me.
So I take, and so does Ed, everywhere I go, I take sketchbooks. I go to the hospital, I have sketchbooks. I have lots of drawings of nurses and doctors. I was in the hospital for a very long time, and I couldn't actually leave my room. So the doctors would come at night and said, so two surgeons came and said, oh, we're going to undress for you and you can draw us tonight as Adonises. I said, oh no. So, but that's how far I go. I take it everywhere. I go on, the only place I don't draw is on a plane. Because I think when I start drawing, something's going to go wrong, and so I don't draw on planes. But I draw on airports, planes, and so actually I'm preparing an exhibit here on faces. I make in trains, airports, and everywhere, parks, and so that's going to be next year in December here. These are all just the faces. And so what I use for those is, Ed is a book dealer, and every time he has books that fall apart, they end up at my porch. And every time in the morning I come up, oh, there's a box of, old Bibles and stuff. And I use those old books to draw for that project. So I use everything. So we both brought some sketchbooks. I put some over there. So after our talk, you're more than welcome to go through them. But you will see that there's a mix of figure drawings and then people in airports and ideas, everything. So I also use them every day.
I have one with me all the time. So I draw if I'm waiting for my sushi order to get ready. I'll draw. I do draw on the airlines too. So I mean, I just I don't have a cell phone, so I like to I like to do stuff with the art, and I like to keep my hands busy doing that memory muscle stuff. In sketchbooks, I mean, I brought, because I thought about this a lot, because I had way too much time, and I do keep them all. And early on in a sketchbook, I would write, and just scribble all kinds of writings and thoughts. And I stopped doing that in 1988. It was this one here. It was a sketchbook that I will never finish. The whole back is empty, so I'll never go back to this one. Lots of stuff that never would get finished. I was having trouble with addiction and drinking, so this is a reflection of that. Just looking at, just half-baked ideas that, or some just maybe one or two lines. But I thought it was strange when I was looking at all the old sketchbooks that I don't write in them anymore at all. I don't have those kind of urges. So everything's drawn. And I have some that I have little mats cut out for, so I can have even little pages. And I do them over and over. Very rarely do they go into the actual painting. I've never, maybe only a handful of times have I taken sketch ideas and made them into paintings.
And for me, that's different too. I actually use my sketches. I do compositions when I'm at somewhere, and so that's different too from us. So I use my sketchbooks, and some of the paintings you can see reflect. If you see some of my work, you will see, oh, that sketch is in here. And I go through different compositions and so sometimes calculations, and I do still write on them, emotions or what's happening. So, for instance, if I'm on a train and the landscape is passing, I write everything down that passes: a electric pole, a sheep, cow, house with red brick, car waiting. So I have a whole list of words that go through this train voyage, and then I use that voyage and those words together with the composition, and that's how I sometimes start a painting. Not all the time, but mostly I do. So.
I always look at my sketchbooks as I consider these sketchbooks, because this was before I was carrying one with me. I would just do little drawings on whatever was available, and then I put them in here. So it's like I made that one up. And I would do sketches while I was working out at the gym on the elliptical. And these are the sweat drawings. And I would, so I'd get myself balanced, and I would just do lots of little sketches. And so I have 10 years of these. And the first ones were this is the other thing I like to do. So this was when I first started. and lots of little ones. And by the 10th year, they had started getting really elaborate. A full page. Each one's about 45 minutes, because that's how long it would stay on the elliptical. And I looked through, I've painted 3 of those as little paintings. One was called Mr. Pinky. I don't know, the title came to me. But the other, when you look at my sketchbooks, I'm very surreal, and it's not really reflected in my abstract paintings at all. Maybe it will, someday have a combination. I do draw on the paintings now, and I just spend hours. Right now, I work on these tiny little sketchbooks, and these I work on in the studio or in the living room. These big ones I'll take with me. This one here I used only when I was visiting I was with my mom going to different hospitals or doctor's appointments. So I take this one with me. And I can look at the dates, and I can go back to exactly what was happening. And the first one's in here is when my sister gave birth to her twins, my niece and nephew. So for me, I don't have photographs. I have these, like I remember in the waiting area, and there's 20-some drawings because it was a long labor. Then I was glad I didn't bring the older sketchbook that only had a couple pages.
But so for me too, sketchbooks are not only like a source of ideas, but they're also a diary almost. You can actually really go back and say, oh, I remember everything, what happened when I drew this sketch. And the interesting thing I found too, I have also hundreds of them, that sometimes you say it's actually you remember every drawing, which is odd. So if you go to old drawings and you see one, you perfectly remember the drawing, and I found that odd because I forget everything else. So I thought that was interesting. I also use every sketchbook that I can put my hands on, whatever it is. But I love nice ones. I have these Japanese ones I'll show you that I really love. See, these are Japanese ones, and I love the paper. Now,
Sorry, Johan.
yeah, no problem. So this is watercolor paper, and of course you have the thing that you're going to be more careful with watercolor paper, so it's different. But if you guys want to look after to them afterwards, and this is a little bit more heavy paper. But see here I try my faces on this. And if you know, I have a whole exhibit about mental illness, and this is the sketches I made for that. So I have some sketchbooks are expensive, some are very cheap. So it doesn't really matter. I use everything. Yeah. But I like a nice sketchbook.
Yeah, I like a nice one too, and I always, if I find some, I usually give Johan a couple. Different sizes, different weight paper. I do use them to try out new pens. I started doing some full color with markers in this sketchbook because I was doing a limited edition of Bernie Jankowski's poems, and each of the limited edition had drawings in the back. So I had to really make sure I could do them with this new material because I never really used color markers before. It was always black and white. And then I started collaging in them and pencil a lot of times because I see pencil more color. There's more volume to the drawing that way. Black and whites, I rarely see any kind of color. So they've started separating. Maybe if I have an idea that I can't really work out and I'm working in a sketchbook, this is odd. I do opposite. So I have the what I'm working on, and then I come into something I need to do, and I actually grab little pieces of paper and do the workout sketches and then put them in the sketchbook. I could not have something that's just notes and with the drawings. It's just a personal thing. You just put out, you use all kinds of mediums.
I do, yeah. I use acrylic, watercolor, everything, even oil on my sketchbooks. Some of them have, some of the paint goes through 4 or 5 pages or sticks together, and so I use everything. Sometimes I leave them outside. You bought one of mine that I left outside.
Yeah.
It was so I left a sketchbook outside, and somehow insects started eating it.
It was a slug.
Yeah, but it didn't eat the pieces that were in watercolor. It just ate the paper. So it had it almost cut out the drawing. And
Yeah, it framed him in chew marks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and then we give each other sketchbooks all the time.
Yeah.
That's also nice. It's all, if you need to give a gift to an artist, a sketchbook is always welcome. So now you know. Christmas is coming, so.
And I found out that Sharpie has changed their recipe from the old days, and this is why I have different sketchbooks that I could work in. I'm trying to find one that's really burnt. It just discolors. On the back pages, and I'm trying to find the one that did it. The word. So it's a black Sharpie, and as it aged, it yellowed the back, and it started burning the other paint, the other drawing. So that's why I always try out new pens. It's like every page had burn marks, and I had to get some archival paper to go in between to so the one behind it didn't get burned.
So I use charcoal and pens, and I use the old-fashioned pens, that you have to dip in ink. That's.
Do you also do like a sketch on just a piece of paper and toss it aside, or do you always do your sketches in a notebook?
I practically do all of them in a notebook. Yeah. It happens that when I cut paper and I have rest, pieces of paper, I put them all on the top, and then sometimes I use them. But mostly those go into collages. Yeah.
I put them all together on a notebook, like the little one I had out.
Yeah.
Because with the niece and nephews, I would get crayons at any of the restaurants, and we'd all draw on them. And because I remember, they brought crayons for Glenn and McKenna. I'm like, I would like a crayon too. And he goes, "Are you joking?" I'm like, "No, I want a crayon, and I need a fresh mat. I just got water on this one." So I consider those sketchbooks, even though they're just loose pieces of paper. And I also like the idea of using the ones like that I'm doing right now. It's a ballpoint pen and lined paper, so it's just not something that would be used for an artist. You want really good paper and all. For some reason, it keeps them from getting too precious like the other ones, and that helps loosen up. Each sketchbook gets a little bit better for me, technique-wise. I'm trying to figure out how to add that type of drawing into the paintings. right now the only way I can think of doing that is make them really big so the lines would be like this fat, because I don't like using those small detailed brushes. The last time I was like this and then started, and then dropped the little brush and got the big one out.
But talking about, using different pieces of paper, I was once in a restaurant and they had paper tablecloths. And so I drew on them and I have to wait. And I drew of something, I said, oh my God, I have to remember this. So I said, can I take the tablecloth with me? And they were looking, really? So I cut it out. I framed it actually. So.
That was a good drawing.
Yeah. So that I do that, I do. And my large drawings that I make are all on separate paper. So when I draw for an exhibit or something, then I kind of. But I toss these out. If I have one that I said, oh, this fits, I will tear it out and use it. So
I don't tear them out. I work on it until I'm satisfied, and sometimes it ends up being a really dark drawing with only a little bit showing through, because a lot of times I just start with a couple little lines and then go this way, and from that it evolves into a full-blown little drawing. So I start making these little lines, and I do like 100 of them across, and then I drop down and do them over here, and then ideas start coming. It's the way I paint too. I like to make messes first and then work them out. So that is the same as in the paintings.
But what I do is also, like, I have particular landscapes I draw. So there's a couple of trees in front of the house, and each season, I make a drawing of the same tree. In the last 10 years, he lost a lot of limbs and stuff, so I have it chronologically life of that tree. So I do things like that too. I go to the same place and make a drawing of the same, and then see how it evolves. So that's also something I do. But those I never show to anybody. I mean, these sketchbooks, this is the first time somebody's going to look in them other than me. So they're very private, actually.
I've taken some in the class, but not all of them, because most of them have never left the house.
So
it's just
don't look at my passwords and my bank numbers. Yes.
Do you ever go back into your books and find a drawing or an idea and then do something new with it?
Yeah, I do. So, and they're time machines, I do. Because some of the ideas were very good, but I couldn't technically do what I wanted to do at that time. So I feel I'm more evolved in the painting, and then I will do that painting. Or I combine it with other things. I combine it with a new idea. But I do all the time. Yeah.
I do too. I like, I go through and I'm like, oh, I really like the way this looked. Let me see how it would turn out now. It's 10, 20 years past when I did the original one. So for me, I like to see what's going to happen. Because, I handle the pens differently now. I used to do watercolor in some of them, and I switched to just a watercolor book. I wasn't ever worried about the pages bleeding through. So I would do some colored ones every 20 pages or so. Try oil pastels, color pencils, watercolor. So I do little watercolors. But since I did these, I've got the one that's now just for watercolor. So, and I haven't worked on this one for 6 months. So when I start, I'll pick it up and I'll work on just this one for maybe 2 or 3 months, and maybe a little one. So it is really part of my daily routine is drawing.
It's also like if a curator comes to your studio, it's the first thing they ask, can I see your sketchbooks? and then you say no. But no.
It's, I don't understand your question.
But so it's a lot of people see what you're working on and see evolution and things like that. So for that, it's kind of important. And I know there's artists that don't use them, that immediately go to, that use their canvas or their whatever paper immediately and as their work. So, but these are all individual works, you know. And then when you die, like Picasso, they cut them all out and sell them separately.
Or R. Crumb, where he sold all his sketchbooks of Fantagraphics and bought that villa in France.
One time somebody wanted to buy a sketchbook, and I had a very hard time selling it. Also because it was only half done, but you have to find out a price for that. How much do you ask for a sketchbook?
There's so many original little
Yeah.
pieces in there. One of my sketchbooks is with a friend in Chicago. When he turned 60, I gave him a little one, and that's the only one that's really left the house. I was thinking also, like, I do not draw out ideas for paintings. I usually do a drawing. These are all drawings of paintings that I've done. So I just revisit the painting when it's done to see what the structure of it was. So it's like finding out what the bones of the painting were. So if there's a painting that you see similar to a drawing, the drawing was after, except maybe 3 or 4 times.
Why do you feel like you have, what's the impulse there? Like, you want to record it in another way?
Yeah, it's just more information. Working an idea, if you work it on a cheap paper or do it in watercolor, different size of the same idea, it's all coming at it. It's an exploration. It's not a forward, but out this way, and then a forward movement with the idea. So it's always just gathering more information, particularly when doing the painting, the drawing after. It's to see what the structure was, and the color gets really simple. So that's the other thing, is like a true color combination instead of the one that has like 20 layers of paint.
Do either of you, and I think I asked you this a long time ago and you said no, but do either of you ever get tired of drawing and painting?
No.
When that would happen, probably it would be 5 feet under or something.
Yeah.
No, so to give an example, I had about 50 tubes coming out of me at the hospital, and I still drew. So I had all my sketchbooks, and they gave me a room with a lot of light, a special room, so I could draw. I draw the whole time, so I'm never tired of it.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I ordered ink from Dick Blick and to come to the hospital, and I wasn't sure what they would send me because I was kind of out of there. So they sent me a bottle of ink this big. So they said in the hospital, oh, by the way, some ink came in. So I said, okay, I'm going to use it. And I had a one of those, how do you call that, where they put in their tools in the hospital. So I used that to sketch. And I stepped up and the bottle fell like this open. And it just filled that whole bucket. It didn't go on anything else. But that's how I do. I draw.
Yeah. Let's see.
Sometimes I wake up at night and draw.
Yeah, it's a compulsion. I draw.
But for me, it's not therapy. Painting and drawing for me is not therapy. I know for some people are, but not for me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a,
I don't feel better or worse or whatever.
Do you feel better?
It's just the way that I just do it. I mean, even if I really feel bad and I draw, I don't, I draw.
Do you see a difference in your mood, like when you were ill, what your drawings looked like during that time period to when you were more emotionally happy?
I'm kind of always emotionally happy. I try to. And I even when I was in very bad shape, I try to be very emotionally happy. Because I know I'm not going to repeat the story a lot, but anyway, I died 10 years ago, 9 years and something. So the surgeon said, I don't understand why you're still talking. All the machinery says you're dead, and you're still talking to me. Who are you? What do you do? I said, oh, I'm an artist. And he said, oh, that's why. And so I don't know. And I'm constantly thinking of my next painting and my next series of works. And my only problem is that I work a little bit too much, I think. Because I have so many ideas 24/7 that sometimes I don't know which idea I have to go first. That's the only problem I have.
Has that changed for you over your life? Like how that?
You know, sometimes you have to make a living, and you have to find a job and do a regular job, and that's tough sometimes. To combine your work with your painting and drawing, but I always have been drawing. Yes.
well, I think it's especially if you have to be doing something else and you can't spend the time you want in the studio. It is a lifeline to just make something little on a piece of paper in a sketchbook. It helps very much. And about the therapy and not feeling better, I'd finished painting, and then I wrote this in the sketchbook. This is from 1988, so it was definitely therapy. 11:54 p.m. I just finished another painting to throw away. A beautiful end to a wonderful day. Poetry. And then just razor cuts, lines so neat, crimson drips, wound is deep. I was really screwed up. So instead of actually doing a suicide, I drew one. And I thought I could do good art in spite of what I put in my system. And after 4 years, everything cleared out. I won't do anything like that ever again because the clarity I have in my work is astounding compared to, this book has unfinished, there's like half-baked sketches, and I'm just like, but now it's just pure joy. I love painting, I love drawing. I drew longer than I've painted. So there was a little problem for me when I met my mentor, who he did illustration, but he was teaching us painting method using mindfulness. And I ended up making these abstract landscapes that were organic. It's like I could have grown them. But I was unsatisfied then because I stopped drawing. And then I come across Miro, Paul Klee, even Diebenkorn, de Kooning, where they drew in their paintings, and then, Arshel Gorky. As soon as I saw these guys making drawing in their paintings, I'm like, oh, that comes back in. It was whole. And that was the first real mature work that I felt was when I had to put the drawing back into the paintings. So they are a big part of my paintings, the drawings. But the subject matter, if you look at these people, like, you don't paint anything like this. But I just haven't figured out how to do it quite yet.
So, but for me, drawing has always been my first love of doing, and I still love it,
Yeah, it's
Yes.
How did you both get started? How old were you when you started?
for me, it's a typical example, 4 probably, because the teacher used to bring my drawings from class to my parents all the time. So for a very long time, yeah.
For me, it's when my mom was asked when she was being interviewed, it was like local boy makes good article. She's like, as soon as I could reach for a drawing utensil, I was drawing. It may have been on the countertop of the wall, but I was drawing. I've always, in school, I got 3 out of 5 questions wrong, but I drew a hippo on the back, and the teacher's like, nice hippo, and then a smiley face, and then like a D for the actual work I was supposed to be doing.
Do you ever feel guilty because you're doing art rather than something else?
No, I think other people should feel guilty not doing it. I mean,
No,
I
I only
think
ask
it's
that because I feel that way sometimes. I'm not saying you should.
no, never. I think
Really?
it's necessary to. I mean, I don't know if you guys realize, but everything in this room, but us, is drawn. These chairs, your clothing, your shoes is drawn by somebody. Why would you feel guilty? Without drawing and without sketching, nothing would exist. I mean, this bottle is drawn by somebody and then designed. Everything is ideas. It's ideas in sketchbooks. Apple was an idea in sketchbooks. Apple computers. Everything is drawn. So it's the number one of they drew
In caves.
In the caves. They're always being drawing.
Maria,
People don't realize how everything is actually. You take away art and you have nothing.
I'm interested in other people's sketchbooks too. Maria Barbosa would have an idea, and she would write one word down on a small thing like this, and that one word would bring up the whole conceptual idea. And that was like, would never happen for me. It's like, I need to draw. But so there's so many different types of sketchbooks. Even if they're falling apart, I won't take the page out and frame it or anything. It hangs in here loose.
Any questions that people have? Yes?
What is your go-to medium? If somebody was to tell you you have to go on a trip, you don't know how long you're going to be on this trip, you don't know where you're going, what would you reach for? Pen or pencil, and what kind?
I was actually a watercolor pencil, and one of these, maybe smaller, a little bit smaller, yeah. Because a watercolor pencil, probably 3 colors, 4, black, red, blue, and yellow. And because a watercolor pencil is incredibly versatile, you can find water everywhere, and so it's a really good medium for drawing.
I would probably have a bunch of, not knowing, like if I was stranded there and I didn't know it and I was on a trip, I would take micro pens, a number of each point size, and 2 sketchbooks. But yeah, the water medium would be a good idea. And I mean, I have a Truda Head every year goes up on her birthday and takes a piece of paper and does an artwork using leaves and everything like that. So Maya Vaden, when in Vietnam, would draw on the sand because they were so poor. So where there's a will, you'll find something in some way or somehow to draw. I feel bad if I don't draw or if I'm not in the studio.
So also normally I draw people that don't know I draw them, but once in a while I stop somebody. I saw a guy that was skateboarding in Frederick, and he was so vibrant that I said, "I'm sorry, can you stop? I will make a drawing." And I actually took a photograph because I wanted to catch this energy of this boy, and so
I don't draw people. Even in the gym, because the moving staircases was in the back of the Y, and the whole line of people on bikes and all these butts going up and down like this. I could have done all kinds of torsos, but I don't think I would be like, are you drawing me? I'm like, no. So I didn't want that to happen. I also, people, some teenagers came up, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm drawing. And I just like, don't talk to me, please. It's just like, I was there to draw and work out. Draw first. I mean, I really got so I wanted to make those drawings because it's so out of the normal circumstance, and I'm trying to stay on a machine, and my mind is, I'm like, it's a whole different time to make a drawing. So that's why I do take them with me everywhere. See, it's just the surroundings will affect what I'm drawing, for sure.
Did you ever fall on your knees or your face?
I absolutely, I never have I never fell. I knew where that button was to turn it down fast, And I wasn't going really fast to begin with, so if something did happen, I would have just hopped off.
So what I also wanted to say, was that if in sketchbooks you kind of do whatever you want to. It's not like if you make a painting, you do also what you want to, but it's more a place where people don't look at you. While if you produce a painting, it's for everybody to look at. Yes, Tony?
I know you take a lot of photos. Do you do your photos, sketchbooks, the same as you do your drawing sketchbooks? And how has technology changed over the years of what you do with, like you mentioned?
Yeah, I actually use sometimes photos to add compositions. But I never draw or paint from photos, but I use them to put up compositions. So I have sketchbooks where I actually add photos to it.
It's changed for me because when I started, it was quills and brush, and you're always going to have that in the back of your mind that it's going to blow out or bleed.
Quills?
Yeah. I had all kinds. Yeah, I used to collect like turkey vulture feathers, and I could use those. I mean, you could get arrested now because they're protected, but I didn't kill a bird to get them.
I thought you were a vampire for
Yeah. So this is the go-to now. Occasionally they'll the point will wear out, but then you can use it because the metal, you can actually etch the paper a little bit with it and get a slightly different. So even when it's almost dead, you can keep it for a little while longer because it'll make a very particular type of mark. And when it comes to, I actually have a couple of them that are just about dead that I know I can use that pen to make that mark.
But Tony, technology, I don't use my iPad to sketch, for instance. That I don't do. I need to feel kind of the paper. I guess I'm old-fashioned. Sometimes they say, "Oh, you're a dinosaur." But dinosaurs are still very popular.
I don't have any. We have a computer, but I don't do anything on it except look up books. And rapidiographs in the old days were another thing that, you had to refill, you had to clean the nibs and everything. So, I mean, I'm really happy with like the quality of the and archival stuff that's happening with all the different materials now. I will do some color with like oil pastel, and I like to smear them and scratch them out and everything, so I get just a hint of a color. That I have no idea when I'll do a color piece in a sketchbook. That is never planned.
But I use old-fashioned nib pens that you have to dip in ink also, still. So I use everything. The only thing I don't use is an iPad. I don't sketch on it. Because you don't have, lines need to be alive, they have to live, a line needs to live. Otherwise you can just, use a ruler and draw. So, and with an iPad you can't. It doesn't react that way. So.
I do ink drawings and with a brush, they don't usually go into the sketchbook because it just saturates so much. But when I have done them, and I do like the variety of the line. And when I did black and whites with a brush, I could visualize the color really well with those because there's some girth to it. It's not just line work. That being said, I just love the line work. If you want to come up and look at these, you'll see that I get very carried away with like 0, 0, or 3 points. And my wife can listen to podcasts about, ancient fabric that was just discovered, which I find enjoyable, and I can just make these little lines.
I also use a very nice thing that's called Bister. It's ink made from walnuts, and I just love it. Rembrandt used it a lot. It's a very nice shade of brown, and now they actually have different other shades: red, green, blue, and they're so beautiful colors.
Yeah, that's a good. I have that too, and now they have some pens that actually have that the brown, the sepia colors. I don't usually use those because I'll be going through a sketchbook of all black and white and some color, and I have a brown one. I'm just like, ugh. But if I'm doing it with a brush and I get all those I remember my mentor is like I was drawing a zebra and all these little lines, and he takes a brush and dips it in ink and rinses and just has a mild gray, and he puts it over the lay. He goes, they have muscles underneath that color. You have to show that. So I do still do a lot of drawing outside of sketchbooks with brushes. I can't take those everywhere. I've tried, and it just didn't work out. I did have an experience too of spilling, but it was a little bottle.
But if you guys interested, I have a studio and some of my colleagues are here. We have a studio called the Blue Elephant, and every first Saturday between 4 and 8 we are open, and you can come and look at our studios and our sketchbooks open to the public. You can see how we work, and I encourage everybody to come and talk to us. And you can see all our material we use and things like that. So, and I don't know how long you're going to be there, but if you have some time, first Saturday or any time, you can always contact us, and we will. Mostly there's somebody there during the week. You can always knock at the door very loud. So, any questions? No?
What time on Thursday?
What
time on Thursday?
Saturday.
Saturday. 4 to 8. Well, it's like 2 to 8, but to make sure 4 to 8 on first Saturdays. And Anthony opens sometimes Saturday and Sunday every week, so you will find somebody there. Normally Richard is there every day, and I'm there kind of every day, but in different hours. But there you can see what we used to work and how we work together, so it's a very great place.
I'm a hermit at the house, but I have 3 classes, open studios for abstract here, so I have a structure of time where I'm actually in a public place.
Well, thank you so much for coming. If you want to have a look.